welcome to another episode of The Grindbin. I'm Mike Wood.
I'm Chris Mann.
Today we're going to be talking about 1984's Savage Streets, starring Linda Blair and nobody else.
Fighting a gang war in a onesie.
Hey, Bobby, I got the money.
Yeah, I made the team. But you're a hooker.
Get that goddamn thing out of your mouth.
We're seven knockers.
Spooky ain't got no real poetry. Brenda, we're gonna play a little game, baby.
I just love fun and games. Get a little girl all hot and horny.
You could have been decent once in a while. And maybe Daddy would have had to kill himself because he couldn't get it up anymore.
What a shame.
Come on, just step on the gas before we get creepy.
Fun fact about 1994's Savage Streets, movie theaters were demolished and rebuilt with larger screens in order to fit Linda Blair's hair into frame.
That's right. This movie features 80s hair, and it's big. So big that it takes up most of the frame.
In fact, it gets bigger with every shot.
Well, I tend to agree. So, Savage Streets, directed by Danny Steinem. But we have a little bit to go before we get to Danny. So the first thing I'll say is budget, $1.2 million. Box office, no clue.
Yeah, that's really hard to come by, actually. It's surprising.
Will not report the numbers. No. Don't know if it was a success or not. Can't really find any sort of press for it. So this movie was originally going to be directed by Tom DeSimone, who directed the last movie we just covered, Chatterbox, which Chris and I thought very highly of.
Me.
I said this in the Chatterbox episode, but let me just go ahead and give his quote about this movie. This is Tom talking. I was actually hired to direct Savage Streets, and that's how Linda Blair and my brother came on board. His brother plays the sex ed teacher in this movie. I brought them to the project. However, well into production, the script kept getting reworked and reimagined by one of the investors who fancied himself a writer. It soon became clear to me that the picture was heading off in a different direction than where we began, and I was unhappy with where it ended up. Frustrated over all the changes I felt were bad, I walked from the project, and that's where Danny came in. So Danny Steinem, born 1942, New York City. He unfortunately passed away December 18th, 2012. He was 70 years old, Los Angeles. So he directed this movie when he was 42 years old.
Yeah.
The IMDb for Danny, the bio, is by our good friend Woody Anders, who also wrote the bio for Jill Lansing, who is Kim on Malibu High.
Fiery.
Woody, we are a big fan of your work, by the way, and I have to say that you really give it your all with these bios. Your choice of words is interesting. I would love it that if you listen to this podcast one day, you would contact us, because I would love it if you just wrote every bio.
I wanted to write my epitaph when I'm dead.
Yes, please, Woody, how much is it going to cost? I know you're doing this as a service to the world, but we could use your help over here. So here's what Woody wrote. Writer, director, producer Danny Steinem was the son of noted East Coast art collector Herbert R. Steinman. Danny made his debut as both a writer and director with the funky hardcore porno picture High Rise in 1973, on which he used the alias Danny Stone. Steinman was a production associate on Arthur Hiller's The Man in the Glass Booth, 1975, and served as an associate producer on the offbeat Gene Roddenberry made-for-TV supernatural fright feature Spectre, 1977. Woody, again, these descriptions. I just take it as is because they're so good. It's a lot to say in a sentence, though. In addition, Danny headed a production company in Puerto Rico that made TV commercials for such companies as IHOP, Chase Manhattan Bank, and Wesson Oil, apparently in Puerto Rico. Danny directed and co-wrote The Perverse Psycho Whore Winner, The Unseen, 1980. Dissatisfied with the finished version of the film, Steinman attributed his directorial credit to the pseudonym Peter Folig. He followed this film with the terrifically trashy teen exploitation action revenge thriller doozy, Savage Streets, 1984. Steinman hit the relative big time with the mean-spirited slice and dice sequel, Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, 1985. Although the movie was a financial success, the production was very troubled and proved to be his cinematic swan song.
Oh, no.
He was announced as the director for a proposed sequel to the notorious Last House on the Left, 1972, but alas, this project never came to be. So, as we mentioned before, Danny Steinman had a few credits before this movie. High Rise, which, as Woody describes it, is a funky hardcore porno picture. It was meant to be a better version of Deep Throat. Okay, so he was directing like a classier version of it, I guess. But he used the pseudonym Danny Stone.
So instead of like dingy mattresses, they banged on velour and velvet.
I'd like to think. In a High Rise. 1980, The Unseen. This is the one he didn't like. Switched it to Peter Folig, also the writer-director. 1984, Savage Streets, writer-director. 1985, Friday the 13th 5, A New Beginning. Now, this is almost universally recognized as the worst of the original Friday the 13th films.
Yes.
And that's because Jason's not the killer in that movie. Spoilers. Even though people now hate it, it was a huge box office success. Although I know that most people online really think it's terrible. And I mean, they're not wrong. It's probably my least favorite of the Friday the 13th. It was a really successful movie, however, and Danny was lined up to direct more movies, but they all fell through after he was involved in a serious bicycle accident, and he was never able to direct again. So he got severely injured. And that was it for him.
Holy hell.
Yeah, real sad story.
Yeah.
So this movie was not only written by Danny, but Norman Yamamoto. Now you might find that name familiar because as we mentioned in last episode, Norman also wrote Chatterbox.
Yes.
He did not write any movies in between Savage Streets and Chatterbox, and that was a 7-year gap. But Tom DeSimone must have definitely hired Norman to write it. Norman went on to write a few more things, though. So let's get into the cast now. Linda Blair, Brenda. Her career started with a role on a TV show, Hidden Faces, in 1968. She was in 2 movies, 1970, The Way We Live Now, 1971, The Sporting Club. Then she starred in 1973's The Exorcist.
Big break.
But Linda didn't go on to just start starring in movies left and right. She was in mostly TV movies, one of them being Sarah T., Portrait of a Teenage Alcoholic, 1975. She played Sarah. Then she went on to star in 1977, The Exorcist II, The Heretic. This did not go well.
It did not.
Here's a piece of trivia from Exorcist II. William Friedkin, director of the first film, told a story recalled by a Warner Brothers executive. Now, you can believe this if you want, but there's a lot of people that say William Friedkin's kind of crazy, so take it with a grain of salt. Apparently, this was told to him by a Warner executive at the Chicago Critics Film Festival in April of 2013. Studio heads came to the sneak preview of Exorcist II in a limo and told the drivers to go get fast food. They entered the auditorium, and within 10 minutes into the film, an audience member stood up, glanced into the crowd, and proclaimed, "The people who made this piece of shit are in the room." 10 or 12 other audience members gathered to find the executives. The heads rushed out of the theater and realized that there were no cars to make their escape. They were subsequently chased down the street by a group of angry audience members. Now, whether that story is true or not, during the premiere in New York, people did throw shit at the screen.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
They hated The Exorcist 2.
Yeah.
It was actually directed by John Borman, who went on to go direct much bigger films, mainstream films. He also directed a really weird movie called Zardoz. From this point on, the career of Linda Blair went south. She was arrested at the age of 18 for possession of cocaine, and her bio credits this with being the point at which her career turned south. I don't know if that's necessarily the case because she was mainly starring in TV movies, and The Exorcist 2 was not a great movie.
No.
After that, her credits included, and I'm just going to give you a few of the highlights, 1979, Roller Boogie, 1981, Hell Night,
Wow.
directed by Tom DeSimone,
That's right.
director of Chatterbox, 1983, Chained Heat, and 1984, Savage Streets. From then, she went on to lots and lots and lots of B movies, and she is still acting in a few things. However, this is from her bio. She now runs the Linda Blair World Heart Foundation, a nonprofit 501c3 tax-deductible organization dedicated to rescuing and rehabilitating abused, neglected, and abandoned animals from the harsh streets of the Los Angeles area, as well as the... She works and lives on the 2-acre rescue sanctuary full-time in California and makes frequent appearances at horror fan conventions. It would be my dream one day to get Linda on this show. Chris has got some trivia for us in a second, but I'm just going to quickly get through the rest of the cast here. John Vernon, the principal. He was born Adolphus Raymondus Vernon Agopskowitz.
Are you sure he wasn't like a Greek god or something, or what?
He was from Canada. His dad was a immigrant. He unfortunately passed away in 2005. He was 72, L.A. He has 201 acting credits on IMDb. He mostly played criminals and villains, mostly deans, wardens, mayors, and any sort of crusty authority figure.
Yeah, he was definitely respected on set, too. He was known largely for his discipline on the actors, and his method was just phenomenal, according to Linda Blair, and yeah, he was great.
He went to a really prestigious acting university in the UK, I believe, too.
Oh.
I don't have the name of it here, but I read that. Biggest ones I have here is 1978 Animal House. He played the dean.
Yeah.
1976 Outlaw Josie Wales. Clint Eastwood played the bad guy in that one, I believe. 1971 he was also in Dirty Harry. 1969 he was in a movie called Topaz, which was directed by Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah. He had a very, very, very successful career. I wouldn't say Savage Streets is the highlight.
No. You're allowed once in a while to have some bumps on the road. But...
You'll hear in the regular part of the podcast, he's my favorite character in the whole movie. He is awesome, and he is definitely giving it his all. Robert Dreyer, who plays Jake. 51 credits on IMDb.
Oh, boy.
Tons of B movies, sci-fi and action, and lots of like action TV shows. Biggest credits I have here, 1987, Behind Enemy Lines. He starred opposite Robert Patrick in that movie.
Really?
Yep. 1991, The Borrower, where he played the part of the borrower.
He borrowed the hell out of it.
Well, it's like some alien that comes to Earth and has to find a new body.
Oh.
2003, a movie called Runaways. He played head coach, and it's not The Runaways.
About the band.
Yeah, because that would be a little interesting.
That would be.
His last credit was something called Emancipation, which was a short, and that was in 2013. He's still alive and still acting. I found his like a fan Facebook for him. The characters of Vince and Fargo, who is the beefcake guy.
Yeah.
Which we'll refer to in the podcast as. They both went on to act in TV, some bit parts in movies. Fargo was in the movie Bulletproof with Adam Sandler. The other gang member did not. His only movie, and he has like kind of a weird picture on his IMDb that he definitely uploaded recently from a webcam. I definitely say check it out.
Yeah. I'd say get an agent.
Deborah Blee, who plays Rachel in the movie. We're not going to go into Deborah's background because she stars in a movie we're covering very soon, The Beach Girls.
Yeah.
It's about 5 episodes from now, but we'll get into her. However, Deborah's character disappears halfway through this movie.
Yes.
In fact, we didn't even know when we recorded the original one that she was even in it.
Yeah.
So,
and there's a reason for that, too.
Really?
Yes. I can tell you this right now if you like.
Let's get it.
When while they were filming, production got shut down partway through, and so a lot of the actors and actresses went on to pursue other projects because they didn't know when this would come back on, if ever. So she just simply didn't come back.
Last one I have, Linnea Quigley.
Yeah.
Heather. Huge scream queen. She is in a ton of B and horror movies. Still goes to conventions, still acts. 1985, Return of the Living Dead. 1987, Creepazoids. 1988, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. Still acting. Tons of horror movies.
Good for her.
She's out there.
Yeah. Did she do the conventions? Probably, I'm sure.
She does the conventions. Yeah. So there's a shot, maybe one day we could interview her.
Yeah.
Now, Chris,
Yeah.
I know you got a ton of trivia for me.
I
on
got
this
a
movie.
few gems here, but
Let's get into it.
yeah, the interesting thing about this film, it's supposed to be the answer to the Stallone and Schwarzenegger films of the time, and was marketed as a gang war of the sexes. Now, the problem with this is Linda Blair's character, Brenda, is the only member of her gang to fight the other gang known as the Scar. So it's not so much of a gang war as it is a gang bang, if you will. Now, I say that only because these guys' mantra in this gang is probably a whole, because they will sexually assault anyone and anything. And at one point, they do it to each other. And basically, these guys are like the Yang to Bobby from the Vans Yin.
I choked when you were talking.
I'm sorry.
Just thinking of this being marketed as the gang war of the sexes.
Yeah.
There's nobody does shit except for Linda Blair.
I just got a crossbow. I don't. Yeah, those odds are kind of stacked either way. But like I was saying earlier, several weeks into filming, and
So hold on, Chris.
Yeah.
I want to interject here. So you're telling me they decided like, Stallone. Who was it? I'm sorry.
Schwarzenegger,
Stallone, Schwarzenegger,
Van Damme,
Blair. Like they thought this was gonna be like a hit like that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting to say, had this role been filled by a male, do you think it would be as polarizing? Because this film is of the quality of that time, I must say. You have to agree.
You mean like of what? Like a Cobra or something?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, would this be, if this were filled by a male, would this be the equivalent of like Cobra? Because back then it was, not to that
Well, I
standard.
think maybe, but the problem is that Linda Blair is not an action star.
Right. So
She's like 5'0".
well, so Stallone's like what 5'0" too, but
Well, they didn't bring out the apple boxes for Linda.
right. So we can kind of take any kind of sexism off the table with the production. It was basically she was just miscast for this film, probably
Severely.
I would go with that too. Yeah,
We'll discuss this
Absolutely.
more in the actual podcast, but
I agree. Yeah, miscast.
I cannot like. What the hell were they thinking? Like, oh, this is gonna hit so big.
Yeah.
Just take anybody, put them in this action movie. It's gonna be great.
And a leather
Linda Blair's
onesie.
Linda Blair's gonna be the new Stallone. Just give her some puff hair,
It was an experiment.
Well,
But several weeks into filming, word was getting out among the crew and cast that the film was having financial problems, and it inevitably did shut down for a while. Now, when filming
they
later,
couldn't get that 1.6 million, huh?
I just literally spit on a mic from across the table. When filming resumed at a later time, producer John Strong was brought in to help finish the script, and he is actually responsible for the one-liners in this movie, such as, I wouldn't fuck him if he had the last stick on earth, here comes the bride all drenched in red, and our personal favorite, go fuck an iceberg, and many other gems. Now,
I'm sorry. So this movie didn't have any of the one-liners in it?
it did not. These one-liners, we have to thank for the studio shutting it down.
So they shut down production and they go, you know what this movie needs to get the rest of that money? Something about fucking an iceberg. Wow. Wow. Keep it coming.
And out of all of those lines, Linda Blair does have a favorite. And it's not to the level of the iceberg, but her favorite line, I hope you're double jointed so you can bend over and kiss your ass goodbye. And that's right before she shoots him in the head with a crossbow.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that's my favorite.
No.
I like the salami line. Let's not ruin that for him.
When
Do you think he wrote in that part where he's like, I'm gonna fuck that bitch, and he goes, yeah.
I know, I was thinking about that. I really was.
You know what we need right here is a yeah.
But come on, 3 words. Come on, 3 letters. Y-E-H. Yeah. Because these guys
Probably was spelled Y-E-H in that script.
Because these guys who played the gang, they're from Boston too.
Oh,
So
I'm
they
not
have these
surprised.
thick Boston accents, and
that does. Now you just say it.
So you know what I'm gonna do
to this
here, broad?
These high school kids from LA sound like a bunch of Boston thugs.
Nothing against Bostonians. We're just saying for this film.
Oh, full insult to Bostonians.
Well, this these characters are, yes. These characters do not do a service to the good, fine people of Boston. Yeah.
All right, what else you got for me here?
Now, when
this is all gold.
Yeah, when interviewed about Rebecca Pearl, who portrayed the character Cindy, Linda Blair had this shining accolade to share about her with this, and I quote, "She had that bitch down pat." Some women can play that blonde bitch very well. Rebecca, job well done for popping up on Linda's radar as a performer.
Oh, Linda, I love your choice of language, by the way. Just using the word bitch like 2 times in the same sentence. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, bonding with a fellow woman. There you go. Perfect. Now, about the premiere, this is the big thing. It's not too much. I'm always fascinated about the premieres of these films, if there ever was one. I want to know about the premiere for The Van. I want to know about the premiere.
Oh, the premiere for The Van? You mean the one that probably took place in a van? Yeah.
So that's what I want to know.
Yeah, the premiere for Malibu High that probably just was projected on a building.
At a campsite on the side of a tent.
Well, we all know about the premiere of The Cheerleaders. Lines around the block.
Yeah. At the premiere in New York, she would go up and down the line handing out soundtracks, bonding with the fans, high-fiving, that kind of thing. Now, as the film played, and the energy in the house was electric. So... It was.
Oh my God, I always love it when I see these things. Who the hell wrote that?
This is coming from Linda Blair herself.
Well, I'll trust Linda.
Yeah.
I love her. She's great.
Yeah. So, I was saying as the film played, the energy in the house was electric. However, she states, and quote, "Everybody until they saw my breastises in the bathtub was having a really good time."
Agreed.
She goes on to say how even though she was uncomfortable sitting there watching that scene, the people around her in that theater were even more uncomfortable, as it seemed an unnecessary scene and very out of place. Now,
you think?
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. The reason why this scene exists is because there are deleted scenes in the film in which Brenda and her sister share some sister bonding time in the bathroom, like doing each other's hair, makeup, etc. Like is beside
Topless?
himself. I don't know. She doesn't specify this.
Topless?
I don't know. However, Brenda staring off into the distance while topless was her reflecting the absence of her sister. Now, even though with that exposition,
Okay.
I'm still not
No,
buying it.
no, I don't buy it. I don't buy
buying
that
it.
shit.
This is from Linda herself. And with that, Savage Streets.
Yeah, we recorded this episode a while ago. We've been doing these intros just to catch everybody up and say hello again. Enjoy the rest of the podcast. Just want to one time push our Kickstarter. It's nearing the end here of the campaign. 54321, directed by Jesse Michaels. Go fund it.
Yeah, it's
no Savage Streets, but
well, it is. I mean, we can make it Savage Streets. Jesse, we have an idea. Shut down production now.
let's see if we get Linda Blair in this thing.
Got some one-liners for you.
Justice for one.
Justice for all.
All right. Well, thank you. And once again,
visit us on Facebook.com/Grindbin. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. Talk to us there. We love to interact. We love to hear your feedback, questions, comments, ways we can improve the show. If you are a writer, director, actress, actor, anyone involved with these films, or knows someone that knows a guy that knows a guy that knows the daughter, stepson, divorcee of someone who worked on these films, we would love to hear from you.
yes, please.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody who has contacted us so far that's been listening. It's been great to hear from you. I love getting your suggestions for the show and just hearing that you enjoy it. It's awesome. If you have any time at all to rate and review us on iTunes, that just helps us out. But thank you so much for contacting us. And it's awesome we have people listening. So let's start by listening to the very long trailer.
It started off as an innocent prank. that erupted in savage violence.
I'm gonna kill him! I'm gonna kill him!
Look at that, Jake, huh? You think she had fun when she filled her car with garbage, huh?
Shut up, Red.
What are you gonna do about it?
All right, girls.
Girl, what you yelling for? Heather's deaf.
Hey, Brenda, isn't this Heather stuff? Oh my God, Brenda!
Oh, I'm sorry about your sister, Brenda. The police are doing everything they can. But she shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Charlene, I love her so much. What am I gonna do if Heather dies?
We'll meet you guys at the top. You sure you're not gonna hurt her, right, Jake? Isn't that what I said?
Brenda, you can't take the whole world on by yourself.
You don't know anything.
For God's sake. It wasn't my fault.
Hey,
What is it?
wait a minute, man. I don't like it. Something's weird.
What's the matter, boys? Lose your nerve? What a shame.
We're gonna play a little game, baby. Hey, Red! Red!
Oh, yeah.
She came loaded for bear. No! No!
Oh my. I missed. And I did so want to see you bleed to death.
Pay for your crime. The judgment will stand. My back's to the wall. It's out of my head.
Come for you, Brenda.
Baby. Linda Blair in Savage Streets, where the only law is an eye for an eye.
Okay, well, first thing that comes to mind after watching that trailer and seeing the movie is that trailer shows you the entire movie, start to finish. Every damn scene of importance is laid out, and the whole movie just takes place in 3 minutes.
Complete with soundtrack.
Yes.
It's just unpleasant.
Yeah,
Through
it
and
is a
through.
very unpleasant movie. And that's a great description of it. So, Savage Streets exists in this world that is apparently LA in 1984, but not an LA I'm familiar with.
Because in 84, I guess in this world you can murder someone in broad daylight.
There's multiple murders and no police to be seen.
Well, did we know that? I'm reading that Cherie Curry was originally going to be cast as Brenda.
Who?
Cherie Curry, the singer of The Runaways.
Really?
Yeah.
So we start out. We don't see Linda Blair at first. We see a young lad who's just trying to make his way as some sort of garbage disposal guy for a restaurant, a busboy, if you will.
Yeah.
But he also he has these rough and tumble friends that are part of the gang, the Scars, who roll around in their soft top convertible.
Now I can relate to this guy going to meet his friends. He changes his clothes at night from he's wearing like a nice Dockers looking thing. He dresses down into a leather jacket. And okay, I'm sorry, but if you have to dress down that much to look like you're auditioning for Grease, you're making the wrong friends. Because one guy, he looks like the singer of New Model Army. The other guy looks like Trey Cool from Green Day. The other guy looks like one of those gay strippers with the red neckerchief and the black vest.
Yeah, that guy, he doesn't fit in anywhere.
He's gonna pop. I feel like he's gonna pop out of a cake. at some point. Is this big entrance?
This guy, he has like no lines until the end, but boy, the lines he has at the end of the movie.
I think that's why they were saving him for last to say anything like he's just
You
not
don't
gonna
even
talk.
find out his name, by the way. I swear that you don't hear his name until the end, and then people keep calling him Fargo. I was like, what? And then the other guy, the blonde guy, his name is apparently Fred or Red. I can't tell because people call him both.
I just call him Trey. He looked like the drummer of Green Day through and through.
Well, the young lad, the kid who's just caught in way over his head is Vinny, and the leader of this gang is Jake. Now, we'll just refer to them by name. You'll probably forget who they are, but we'll come up with nicknames, I'm sure, throughout this episode. So after we see them pull off, they're drinking beer while they're cruising down L.A., just cruising around like typical high school hoodlums would. And then we see Linda Blair and her friends strolling down the street. And the first thing we notice about Linda is she's a real badass.
Mm-hmm. The hair alone.
Yeah. She's got her hair put up, permed out. She's walking around with sunglasses at night, just strutting around like she owns this goddamn town.
Because we need to establish she's the leader of this group. She's
for sure.
Alpha, the alpha.
And what's really nice is that her name is Brenda. So Linda, Brenda, it's it's almost similar. So the first thing I notice is they go and they walk around and they look into windows and they start looking at weapons on sale. And I see that there's a special on bear traps.
And crossbows.
Foreshadowing.
I think the fact that they all stop and like are just into it, like, bear trap. Yeah. And LA.
Yeah. So in this version of LA, this parallel universe, weapons are what attract a 16-year-old girl. Like they are just really into it.
It's like their Tower Records.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not looking for records. They're looking at weapons. And not guns, mind you.
No.
Crossbows, bear traps.
It's very how Ted Nugent's.
It's like Ted Nugent, or like they're trying to plan some sort of Home Alone house.
Why doesn't the tape recorder shown there? I don't know. There should be though.
Ooh, the Talk Boy. This is before Talk Boy.
Yeah,
BT.
Which is funny because later there is a version of a Talk Boy in this, which is hilarious.
Yeah. All these girls are dressed like they're also in a gang. They all like walk around with their leather jackets or their red jackets. They eventually get. They're not in this scene. But one of the girls is different. She's dressed like some Mormon schoolgirl, and this is Heather. But then this Hispanic girl, who's one of Linda's friends, tries to talk to Heather, and I have her name written down here somewhere. But she is a horrible stereotype.
She's supposed to be the saucy heat of the film, if you will. She's trying to...
The Latin heat.
Yeah, the Latin heat, in this film. It just does not come off, and it's very lazy and uninspired, because I thought she was Italian the whole time.
You thought she was Italian, even though she keeps saying things like Hispanic things?
Well, to me, it sounded almost Italian, just how terrible the dialogue is coming from
They just couldn't get it.
Yeah, I'm like, an Italian wedding. I can't wait for this scene.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's how you know she's Mexican, because Linda Blair responds by calling her Miss Taco Bell in a bad accent. She goes like...
Again, proving my point.
Excuse me, Miss Taco Bell. My sister here, she doesn't understand Spanish fly.
Do you think that line sold Linda Blair on this script? Like, she saw it and she's like, oh, that's fucking great.
I can nail that in 3 different takes.
I've always wanted to be like kind of borderline racist.
I want to do kind of an Andrew Dice Clay thing.
This is the movie for me. Yeah. Clay is getting real edgy, and I think I want to be the female version of him.
Yeah. Let me wear leather jacket and a switchblade.
So then one of her other friends offers alcohol to Heather, and Linda, flips out, like just flips out about it. And her friend's like, I was joking. And like Linda Blair gets in her face and she goes, not around Heather.
Hey, Stevie, I said none of that in front of Heather.
Hey, Fred, can't you take a joke?
Not about Heather.
She's really protective of this girl.
Which is why she drags her around these types of people to be in these situations where this is just going to be commonplace for her. Great decision.
Which makes so much more sense to just let Heather stay at home.
Yeah.
Because... as we'll get to, it's kind of Linda's fault in a lot of reasons why things happen to Heather.
Yeah.
So we see the guys in the car. They're strolling down the street still. They're cruising around, but they see Linda and her friends. And the beefcake guy who popped out of a birthday cake goes, he goes, oh, I would marry that. And I was like, okay, I get it. She's going to be the sex symbol in this movie. Like, I didn't see that coming when I first turned it on.
No one. I sure as hell didn't.
They're following the girls, and they go to like walk around a corner, and Heather goes into the street, and the car nearly runs her over. And the guy goes, "Oh, I'm sorry," and they pull her up, and they go. He says something. He goes, "I honked," and somebody goes, "She's deaf, you idiot!" And it's like, well, how is he supposed to know? I mean, he just met this girl.
Why are you letting her walk ahead of you in the dark?
Yeah, exactly. Why are you letting her walk into the street without looking both ways? Again, kind of her fault. So then we find out she's deaf. They try to apologize. The one guy, Jake, hits on Brenda. He says something to her, and she says something like, it sounds almost as good as drowning in a pool of vomit, and flips him off. And then one of the girls calls the guy the F word. There's a lot of use of the word.
Right.
It's 1984, so I guess you get away with it. You
Reagan
cannot
years.
say that nowadays,
No.
but oh man, did they use it liberally in this movie. And it's like the guy from Chatterbox really likes two words a lot. And cunt, which are two words that we don't typically say nowadays. But boy, he was just rolling it in every movie he could.
And for the sake of this podcast, you will hear it just so you can delve yourself into it. It's just blatant, and that's where this universe is.
Such a mean-spirited movie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how... I can't believe this was going to be directed by the guy who directed that movie.
No.
I cannot see it. I have a feeling that it was just some different movie at some point.
I saw more dance numbers. Could have been like...
You know Linda had a singing vagina.
singing something. No, and then Jake had a singing salami.
So then we see the gang accost some guy they're going to keep going to over and over again throughout the movie, asking for money. And his girlfriend, and I swear this scene's only set up because his girlfriend's wearing a shirt that's going to be easy to rip off. And we know what's going to happen when that guy grabs her and then he just rips her shirt clean off. And she has her big fake 80s boobs just flying in the air. And they like force Vinny's face into him. They're like, here you go, kid, get some boobs for you.
No.
It's all an initiation. Vinny's a lot like Genie from Cheerleaders. He's just in over his head. He thinks he wants something, but does he really?
He's the only guy in the gang that looks like he shouldn't be there. Parted hair, shirt that looks like it's been washed.
Yeah, Vinny he just doesn't fit in anywhere in this movie. How did he even become friends with these guys in the first place?
Right.
They have nothing in common.
Yeah, and after seeing what they do, why would you want to hang out?
Yeah, these guys, so pretty much all these guys do is they go accost women.
Brutally assault and rape
women. If they want a woman, and Jake says this multiple times, if you want them, just take them, you know. They go around, they rape women, they kill people, and they're just all around hoodlums. But for some reason, Vinny became friends with them.
From Vinny's point, maybe they're trying to illustrate he's such a guppy. Like, the only way to survive is at the top. And to him, that's what he thinks the top is well, it's either rape or be raped.
Yeah.
You know?
They like fool around with this guy, blah, blah, blah. We see boobs. This guy needs to pay them money. So then we cut back to Linda and her friends reading magazines. And there's some great quotes in this part. As her friend's looking at the magazine, she goes,
Hey, guys. Would you check out the schlong on him? You know, I'll bet he has to put it on the nightstand when he goes to bed. Hey.
So, for some reason, they decide to steal the gang's car because that seems like a good idea. These guys almost ran over my sister. You know what we'll do? Let's go steal their car. And she even says to Heather, she goes, hey, Heather, how would you like to ride in a convertible? And she just does this dumb, like, and so they think this is a great idea, and they like go around, they're swerving around, and they're laughing, and the gang members just running after them, going like, no, our car. Then we just cut to, of course, women eating ice cream, because what else do they do? Just eat ice cream and look at dicks all day. So they're eating the ice cream, just raving about it. Oh, it's better than sex, blah, blah, blah. Then the gang finds their car, and we found that they've like put trash cans and shit in the car.
Yeah. That's fucked up.
And we get that great part when Jake just screams. So then we cut to one of my favorite parts is the aerobics class.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so They're apparently doing like some sort of light aerobics in PE class, which never seen anything like this in school.
And they're not even like in gym clothes. They are in their normal suit clothes.
And the teacher is a real jerk.
Yeah.
Because she keeps saying, and she'll say this multiple times. And look, Linda Blair's not the skinniest girl, but I don't think it would have been a great idea to continually put "pick it up, Brenda," like she's overweight or something. Like she keeps hitting this point. She goes, the scene starts off with her looking right at Linda Blair, and she goes, "Pick it up, Brenda."
Yeah.
And she responds, she goes, "Stuff it, bitch."
Great teacher-student dynamic.
And honestly, she's doing the workout. Yeah. What does she mean, pick it up?
She's getting her legs up in there. I mean, just...
And if anything, she's doing more than the other girls are, because a lot of people are just kind of wandering around the gym while this is going on.
Well, I mean, maybe it's Brenda's fault for being front and center in front of her.
Yeah, she really shouldn't have stood right in front.
Well, Brenda makes herself a target, if we don't already know by now in this film. And she's, you know what, if you want to, she's going to act like that way, don't put yourself in the front of any situation. And that's all she does.
Pick it up, Brenda.
Stuff it, bitch.
It becomes a trend because the instructor keeps insulting multiple girls, and they all tell her to like shove it or fuck off. They really don't have a good relationship.
Maybe the teacher thinks that's going to get them more fired up to work out, but it just pisses them off.
Then we see the gang again. They confront the same guy they confronted before, but this time he doesn't have his big boob girlfriend. They ask, "Where's my money? I want the blow and the money here in 1 hour." Oh, yeah, he goes, "I want the blow and the money here in 1 hour." And then the other guy chimes in, the beefcake guy, and he goes, "That's 60 minutes.
I want the blow and the money here in 1 hour. That's 60 minutes. You got that?
Oh, thank you. So then my favorite character in the movie comes out, the principal.
Oh, yeah.
This guy,
I think he had to have been, his backstory for me is like he was in Nam as a sergeant.
Oh, definitely.
Because he's definitely got that kind of not 1,000-yard stare, but just he's had it. He's back in
this guy doesn't take shit from anybody.
No.
Especially not students.
No, these ungrateful yuppie larvae, how dare they act out.
So he immediately walks up to the guys and he looks at one of them. He goes,
"Go fuck an iceberg."
And like even the gang members are kind of shocked by this because it makes no sense. It's not in reference to anything.
Must be a Nam thing.
Go fuck an iceberg. And I had to like pause it at that point, and I was thinking to myself, like, what?
Yeah.
Then Jake spits on the floor. And the principal, here we get another use of a word we really do not use much anymore, is he says, this is a principal talking to students. He looks right in their eyes and he says,
"Now, why don't you take your faggot asses out of here before I feed him to the cops?"
But I thought first that he said cocks. I was confused and I had to rewind it because I'm like, he didn't really just say I'm going to feed them to the cocks, did he?
You know, I would have believed it. I would have gone with it. I wouldn't even thought twice.
So then we cut back to the aerobics class, and again we hear the line, "Pick it up, Brenda." And then we get this guy Wes, who's gonna make a couple appearances in this movie.
He's the Tim Allen of this movie.
He is like such a just the dorkiest jock guy you could ever imagine. And he's just in love with Linda Blair. Everywhere she goes, he just stares at her. So he just comes into this aerobics class and he just stares her down like hard.
Yeah.
And all her friends are like, "Oh, look who's here." And she's like, "Oh God, I hate that guy." But he just is like, he just never catches a clue, this guy.
No, he looks like his head got stuck in a vice for about 5 minutes, and that's where his IQ comes from.
His girlfriend, Cindy, who's the head cheerleader, who doesn't get along with Brenda very well, walks in and catches him. She gets real pissed. He's just like, "I was doing nothing, just looking at her."
I fucking
And the thing is that's so funny about Cindy is like, just break up with him.
Yeah.
If you're so fed up with this guy and he's so obsessed with another girl, just leave. Like,
well, it's a high school reputation thing. She's a head cheerleader. He's probably like some head.
He's the quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I think it is, and it's all for appearances. So
then it ends with them catching him. He's got his zipper down.
Oh God.
So then we see the gang watching the cheerleaders. They spot Heather, and they decide that maybe it's a good idea to get them back. So then we got back to Heather and aerobics class, and the guy's still there. Wes is still there staring at her, and he's making faces now. And Brenda, she's not into him, but he just does not get it. He's like, one day. So then we get Brenda talking to Heather. Heather comes into the gym. And it's just like, this next part is so just a setup to get us to feel sympathy. Because for no reason, Heather gives Linda like a necklace.
Yeah.
And she's just like, oh my God, it's beautiful. Yeah. Oh God, look at what Heather gave me, everybody. And she's just showing it around. She's just...
So this is after school, because shouldn't Heather be in class, or what's going on here?
I don't know what Heather does, to be honest. I think she just kind of wanders around town looking for Brenda. We don't really know anything about her other than she's too dumb to take care of herself.
Yeah.
And she's deaf.
Yeah.
But, maybe part of this is because Linda treats her like a child. She treats her like she's 2 years old. Like when she sits down and gives her that necklace, she's just like, hi, Heather, how was your day?
Yeah.
It's like, she's deaf. She's not like mentally challenged. What is wrong with you?
You look very good today.
Yeah.
And that's the extent of the conversation.
She's always talking down to her. And it's like, well, you wonder why everybody treats her like that. It's 'cause you do.
Hi, baby. How was school? Good? Good. My day? My day was fine. I'll tell you what, I'll go get changed and I'll walk you home, okay?
So then we get girls in the shower, and there's no point in this scene whatsoever because none of the characters are actually in the shower. They're all getting changed in the locker room. So we instead get like a long 2-minute tracking shot of like multiple boobs and butts, and then we go to the main area where our main characters are already dressed.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's when at first I was like, oh, okay, so this movie's not going to have Linda Blair naked in it. Okay.
Yeah. Fake out.
Then we just get cut back to Heather just by herself in the gym, and she just starts dancing around the middle of the floor to some phantom music. And she's just like, she looks like Stevie Wonder out there. Like, not only is she deaf, she's apparently blind too.
Man. Again, and she's left alone. Like, terrible decisions in this movie on Brenda's part.
But what happens next is the punk guy comes in. What did you say? The guy from Green Day?
Oh, Trey.
Trey, yeah. He comes in and he's like watching her, and then he starts hitting on her, and she's scared at first, but then at some point she gets real interested. Then we cut back into the locker room. We find out Brenda's friend's getting married. And I equated this to when I first saw him, like, oh, you know what this is? This is like the guy in the movie where he goes, I'm 2 days away from retirement.
Yeah, exactly.
What could go wrong? She's not only is she getting married, but she's pregnant.
They're laying it on thick.
Yeah, it's like, well, looks like everything's looking up for this girl. So then we cut back to the punk and Heather, and he's trying to learn sign language from her. And then I love this part where he goes like, you know what this means? You know what this means? And he starts doing sticking his
Makes
finger.
a ring, makes like the OK sign with one hand and sticks his index finger through the O. And if you can illustrate that in your mind, he's trying to get her titillated.
Yeah, and this is where like horror movie music starts to come in, and he's like, you know what this means? You know what this means? And she's just kind of confused, like, no.
Yeah.
Is that a real sign language sign?
No. There's no way. No. I highly doubt it. If it is.
So then we go back to the locker room, and Cindy confronts Heather, the cheerleader Cindy.
Yeah.
And she's like, stay away from my boyfriend. And Brenda responds with,
Oh, God, where's that faggot?
she's not interested.
And then she goes on to insult not just him, but it insults her as well.
Yeah, she's just like, Cindy, I don't care. I don't care about you. I don't care about your boyfriend. Just leave me alone. And she goes, you stupid, stuck-up cunt. So we finally get the C word introduced into this movie.
Yeah. And it's going to keep falling out like an avalanche.
He's mine, understand? So keep your hands off. God, you stupid, stuck-up cunt. If you could make him stay away from me, I'd be eternally grateful to you. You're the one. You keep leading him on. Let me see if I can make this simpler so that even you can understand. I wouldn't fuck him if he had the last dick on earth.
And she's just so pissed that Brenda's not interested in him now. Like, for her,
It's the biggest insult in the world.
it's like even worse that she wouldn't be interested. So then we cut back to the punk and Heather, and he asks her if she's ever kissed a guy, and she writes on a piece of paper the word father. And he's like, well, your father, that doesn't count. And then somehow he finds out her dad's dead.
Yeah.
So then he kisses her, and she likes it, which is odd.
Yeah.
But then he starts kissing her too hard.
And she doesn't like it as much.
No.
And this is where we're going to severely turn the mood and temperament of this movie into something very unpleasant.
Yeah, so we're not even going to go into detail on that scene, but there's this horrible scene where the rest of the gang catches Heather and then rapes her.
Yeah.
And this is what the whole movie is based around, this one event.
Mm-hmm.
Is they rape her and apparently beat her. You don't see much of the beating, but apparently...
Well, that was edited out, apparently.
Yeah, apparently they edited it out.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Because they say in the trivia that there was a part where they actually showed every gang member having sex with her.
Mm-hmm.
Why? It's bad enough. Like, oh God, whatever you do, don't. If there is a director's cut out there that you can get a hold of, don't watch it.
There is an extended cut, but apparently I was reading in England that some warehouse burned down, and all of them burned down with it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So the favor has been done.
Thank
for everybody.
God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It just always sees, I think, a kick to the face, but after that kick, there is a significant amount of damage done to her face that was not from that
Yeah.
kick.
So they must have beat her pretty bad.
Yeah.
But it's terrible.
Well, and then this, I don't know if you want to go into it, but the scene between our cake guy.
Beefcake and Jake. Yeah. Oh yes. This is the one shining light in that part of the scene. It's like,
so they're arguing over who's going next. Like, Jake's next. I'm like, well, he's Jake. Okay, one of them is next. And they start unbuckling. And he goes, no, I'm next. And start shoving each other. Then they get in each other's faces, and then they kiss each other. Like, just plant one on.
Yeah.
And they start laughing.
yeah,
Like,
they kiss each other and then kind of give each other a look before they start laughing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
well, I got some job to do down here.
We know what's really going on for sure at this point.
Yeah.
So then we cut into the principal's office, and just to show that Brenda's a real badass, she lights a cigarette up in the principal's office. And he says, I love this guy so much.
Get that goddamn thing out of your mouth.
And Cindy's just crying in the corner, like just bawling her eyes out to the point where the principal's getting like actually annoyed at her that she
Will
won't
you stop crying? For God's sake, stop it.
So he just tells her to get the hell out of there. Yeah. So Brenda's there. She's acting like a real badass. And this is, okay, this principal has said multiple things to students that would get him fired. But this
is a gem.
He says,
I don't understand it. You're a bright girl. You got a pretty face. A good figure.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, excuse me?
And then it cuts right after that.
Yeah. Yes.
I feel like they were
coming on to her.
Because what if, in an extended cut, this guy is the leader of the Scars? And that is kind of like him.
That's why he's like, get out of school, guys. I don't need you around here.
Yeah.
He's the one pulling the strings.
Yeah.
The real puppet master behind this situation.
And maybe he's a cut scene of this is the extended version where he tries to come on to Brenda really hard.
Everybody loves Brenda in this movie. She's very popular with every guy.
Which I don't see because she's just terrible to
I
people.
think it's because, like, you want what you can't have. And Brenda is such a ball buster that, like, I don't know. I guess guys who are really into sort of masochism, like, they're really into the idea of getting beat by Brenda at some point.
A stiletto in the ball sack, if you will.
All the girls hate her. All the guys want to be in her, you know. So then the girls, they're all looking for Heather around the gym. And they start screaming, Heather, Heather. And you heard it in the trailer as the one girl goes, what are you yelling for? Heather's deaf.
You dumb shit.
So then we cut to the hospital. And Brenda's just standing by the window like a real badass again. Like, always have to reinforce her as a badass. Mm-hmm. She's always wearing, like, leather. She's always wearing those half gloves with, like, the fingers cut out.
And the eyebrow. Let's not forget the eyebrow.
The eyebrow.
It's always, like, got this kind of Dwayne Johnson thing going.
Because Brenda is a real bitch. Like, she's never she never like breaks down other than when Heather's around, and she's always mean to everybody.
Yeah.
And we'll see in the future, like in a little bit, but there's multiple parts where people try and help her, and she's just a complete jerk to them.
Mm-hmm. Like she's trying to be some strong, independent woman, and I get that. It's just there are other ways than being abrasive. But maybe her backstory is do we know about her parents? Do we know anything else other than?
Well, we'll find out about what happened to her dad.
Oh yeah.
Well, her mom only makes an appearance in like this scene and then one other scene in the movie.
Yeah.
And she's a real weak lady. So I don't really know where Heather gets this, or where Brenda gets this from, her badassness. So she's just staring by a window, and the mom's like crying on the bed, and she just spins around all badass, and she's just like, "Get out of here, Mom. Go home. I got it." Got what? Like, what? So then, like, she goes home and looks through Heather's room, and Heather's just so innocent, you know. She's got teddy bears, some ballet slippers, and I was thinking, ballet. She's deaf. How is she dancing to music if she can't hear it? I mean, look, I understand Beethoven and everything like that, putting his head to the piano or whatever he's doing, but I don't think a deaf girl could be a ballet dancer.
I think it can be done. I think, music is chosen, and not necessarily by her, but she will dance fluidly to it to a set time, and she'll just dance whatever's in her head, and the music will play at the same time. I think it's fine. Honestly, I do.
Things start to go a little bit off the rails at this point. Yeah. Like, we've already started to dive down a deep hole, but this starts to start get real weird now.
You could throw a salami down this
Where did
hole.
we go to grieve about our sister just being raped and stuck in the hospital? I'd say the local dance club.
Let's let our hair out, throw down some drinks, and shake our fucking asses while our sister is in a fucking hospital from rape.
Chris, how do we know this is a dance club? Well, there's a neon sign on the wall that says rock and roll.
Yep. Yep.
They cut to Brenda sitting at this table, like, crying her eyes out with their friends all around her.
Yeah, it's like, why the fuck did you choose that place to go to?
And then, yeah, exactly. And she's, like, talking to some lady and calling her by name.
Yeah.
Some old lady we'll never meet again. Yeah. We'll never see her again. And she's just like, you don't understand if I lose Brenda. And this lady's, like, consoling her. And I'm just sitting there questioning, like, is this her mom? Who is this? Who is this lady?
We needed some matronly figure at this point in the film for Brenda to lean on, to be the rock for her, to, like, just kind of...
Somebody we're never going to see again.
Yeah. And just write off completely.
But it didn't seem like the best place to grieve.
Fuck no.
And then, like, they're bringing her over drinks and everything. She's like, it's all right. It's on the house, honey.
Oh, God. Instead, if we were the writers, where would we have them grieve? Where would we have them go?
If I was the writers, I would have just given up. I would have just started working on something else. It's just going nowhere. So I like the part, though, when she goes like, you gotta believe. And then Brenda goes, and what, God? I gave up when my father died.
There you go.
Oh.
Bomb dropped.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So then the guy gang, that's what I call them, the Scars. They get in their car, and apparently they, like, live in some fabric warehouse. It's like, this is the first time we see it. And they go over, pick up Vince from dumping his trash at his work. That's all he ever does is dump trash. Mm-hmm. They confront him about the rape. He says he feels sick about it, blah, blah, blah. But they force him to go with them. So they get to the dance club, and her friend, 2 days away from retirement, starts talking about how her and her fiance want to move away and get a farm.
They're going to buy the farm, all right.
Yeah.
I'll give them that.
So then the guy gang shows up. The Scars show up to the club, and they spot the guy we need money from. And I do love this cut, is they just cut to the guy. They go, oh, there he is. And they just cut to him, just kind of like has this like blank stare with his mouth open. He's like, huh. It's like, just, he's not even looking at them. They just cut to this like blank stare for him because I feel like they had no other footage.
They forgot to give him any kind of scene whatsoever.
So you think this is gonna lead to some sort of controversy? No, guy pays him. Done. We'll never see this guy again. And that's it. So then they're all pushing on Vinny because Vinny again is in over his head, and they just like, Vinny, tell us what girl you want. We'll grab her for you. You could rape her. How about this girl? And then the beefcake guy grabs the waitress, and he just sits her on his lap and starts like groping her. And he's like, how about it, Vinny? You like her?
He's just like, no, stop it. And he's in the wrong fucking crowd. I'm sorry.
But I do like when the beefcake guy looks at the waitress and goes, well, I'm sorry. I guess he's not interested.
Yeah.
And then he just lets her go. But then, the girl 2 days away from retirement comes out of the bathroom and they catch her. And they start I guess borderline raping her in the middle of the dance club.
They're playing hot potato with her ass.
Yeah. And they start kissing her and all this stuff. Then is this even her boyfriend, I guess, that stops it? Is it cuts over to some guys and they're just like, hey.
Yeah.
And they're really slowly. I can't stress how slowly enough these guys get up to defuse the situation. It's we literally see them pull out their chairs and stand up and then push the chair back in.
Dust themselves off
it's
first.
A good 5 minutes before they walk over. It's I guess we should go help.
Yeah.
So they walk over there. A big fight breaks out. Again, where's her fiance at this point then?
Right. And why is she out and about without him? And when they
I swear
together?
He was at that table when she's like, we're going to buy a farm.
I honestly don't remember.
I
what
lost
he even
track
looks
of
like.
him.
Yeah.
But she picks up a knife and stabs Jake. But here's the thing. Is she picks him up and she hits him from behind?
Yeah.
But for the rest of the movie, Jake's going to have a scar along his face.
Right. Because in the rest of the movie, it just, his hair's too long. We're not going to see it. So they're just they're not going to remember. Let's put it on his face.
But apparently she sliced him in the face.
Yeah.
So then we cut to Brenda in class looking like a real badass, twirling her pencil. She's just she just doesn't get along with anybody. But this is my favorite part in the movie. And I know, Chris, I have a feeling you wrote down a lot of notes on this part.
Oh, yeah.
Is some guy out of with a 1920s gangster twang to his voice and a straw in his mouth goes, the teacher's talking about poetry. He holds up the book. He goes, how come this book ain't got no real poetry?
How come this book ain't got no real poetry?
I know these rhymes. Nothing contemporary for me. But really, he's just a guy. He's just fucking around. He has no intention on being serious.
When I brought up this scene, you looked at your notes. I bet you have a lot about this guy.
Yeah.
I know it's your favorite part in the movie. It's my favorite part for sure.
Well, I thought he was Vinny at first. Because they look exactly the fucking same.
Oh, yeah. It could have been Vinny.
I thought it was Vinny.
It's just some other guy, some 1920s gangster.
Yeah.
He's I feel like he's going to pull out a Tommy gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the teacher goes, well, why don't you elaborate? And he goes, stuff that makes sense. Okay.
I don't like the ways you talking to me, Miss Teacher.
So she goes, well, give me an example. And the students go, yeah, give her an example. He goes, all right, this one's an original. Did you write it down, what he says?
I think I remember it by heart. It's disco sucks.
You got to say it in his voice.
Oh, disco sucks. Punk is dead. Long live rock. Oh, give me some head. Or something along those lines.
Give me rock. Oh, give me head.
Yeah.
Oh, Cindy and the other prude girls are just in shock that he would say that in class. And everybody else is laughing. And then the teacher, instead of getting him in trouble, says, it is poetry.
Hold on. He's got a point, everybody.
And then she writes it onto the blackboard. And she says, it has rhyme, rhythm, and meaning.
She didn't vote for Reagan. I'm telling you this much.
So then she goes into detail and she goes, well, what's head mean? Maria? And the teacher convinces her to explain it. And she's even like, I don't know if I should be talking about this in school. And she's like, no, go ahead. I give you permission. Even at that point, I think I'd be like, no, I'm going to excuse myself from this discussion.
Yeah.
I think she really tactfully gets out of it too, because she goes like, I guess it has something to do with sex or something.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing his voice for her now.
It's like an Australian kiss, but an Australian kiss is a French kiss, but down under.
And then I kept writing over and over again in my notes, what the fuck is this? What does this have to do with anything?
Yeah.
This whole classroom scene takes up a good 5 minutes. It has nothing to do with the plot.
I think it's just trying to be contemporary with kids today in 1984. and their idea of sex, and it's just trying to make
all of this makes no sense.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
A lick. No
Of course
sense. This scene it should have been cut.
Yeah.
You talk about a director's cut. Why was this not left on the cutting room floor? It has no purpose to the movie whatsoever.
All I remember is seeing Vinny. But no, because Brenda,
some guy is...
Yeah, he's like egging on Vinny, like, is it about seeing Jake after school, or you didn't say nothing?
No, this guy has nothing to do with the van.
Exactly.
Or the van. Oh, God, here it comes. He has nothing to do with the gang.
Or the van, apparently. Because it's waiting out back.
Oh, God.
Well, Brenda is in this class, but we don't need the first 5 minutes of the poetry slam.
Okay, well, I guess this next part, because the teacher goes, Brenda, can you stay after class for a second? So Brenda immediately lights a cigarette, walks over and blows smoke in her face. And she goes, like, what do you want? She's like, I feel like, by the way, Brenda and Kim would be real good friends.
Oh, yeah. I think they would co-hook, to be honest. They would double team guys like no other.
So all the teacher wanted to say was sorry about her sister, but Brendan's just being a real dick, like just on and on. She goes like, you think you know what's going on, but you don't know anything. And then just walks out. She's a real badass. She doesn't need to take it. So then we go to the next class, and Brenda and her friend are talking.
Well, is this the one where the dance party is going off?
Yes. Okay. So I was going to say that. Brenda and her friend are holding a conversation while people are dancing in the background. Now, you have something to say about this?
Well, at first I thought class was already in session when this was happening. I was like, where's the what the hell kind of class is going on here? Where's the teacher? And then one guy's dancing with the skeleton. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they've like picked up the skeleton. They're dancing around the room. They're having a good time. Like one of the girls is like standing on top of a desk doing the shake
with music blaring. Okay,
it's like she's dancing to the twist. Like,
yeah. Can we honestly say, has that ever happened in any of your classes? Because that sure as hell never happened in mine. Okay,
but we don't live in the world of Savage Streets.
No, so apparently
these streets
are
savage.
Yeah, I mean they savage hard and they party hard.
So Brenda is talking to her friend, the 2 days away from retirement, talking about getting married or some bullshit. But then Wes comes back into the picture. And this is the best part, is I guess all these people share the same classes all day. Like, they don't have multiple people in their classes. This school in LA is so small that you just have the same 30 people in every class.
Yeah.
The nerdy jock guy, Wes, comes and hits on Brenda, and he says stuff to her like, I don't know, Brenda, I really like you. It feels like you're just going to go off at any moment. And it's like, yeah.
Pretty much. Again, which proves our point about the allure of Brenda. And the guys in this world they can't get enough of her. And she keeps telling him to go away. She's not interested, but he just doesn't get a clue. And then Cindy's standing right there and getting just pissed. And again, these two, they need to talk about their relationship. Cindy either needs to break up with him or he just needs to break up with her, because obviously it's not working. So she comes over, she gets in her face, but the teacher comes in. So we all got to go down to our seats and start class. And Bill Nye has arrived.
Just so we can get this good gag where he happens to be the sex ed teacher, and he goes, all right, now we're going to leave off where we did yesterday. And he pulls down a chart of the male anatomy, and there's a big penis drawn onto it.
And I saw some hairs, too, sticking out of it. They went painstakingly.
But the best part is it's not even like the penis that was drawn. It's that on the female one, somebody drew like googly eyes looking at looking at it. So then we come back to these guy gangs, and they're talking, the guy gang, the Scars, they're talking to Vinny about something like he shouldn't say anything and blah, blah, blah. Who gives a fuck?
Hey, bitches, the deal has been done. Deed is done, moving on.
Yeah, it's like we need to create some sort of controversy, so Vinny, you better not say anything. And he's like, oh, I don't know, Jake, she might die. That girl might die. And he goes, yeah, everybody dies.
Yeah.
We cut back to class. Oh, I love this part, is when the teacher goes, okay, we should leave off where we did last week. Yeah, he goes, Cindy, where did we leave off? And she says, my parents don't think we should be learning about this stuff in school, referring to sex ed. And the teacher goes, well, what should we learn about? And this is her quote. She says, we should learn that people should be taught to stay in their own place and not try to be something they're not. Her parents seem like real winners to me. Like, I can imagine her going home and being like, "Oh, we're learning about sex ed. Yeah, you shouldn't be learning about that. You should be learning about people staying in their place." What does that have to do with sex ed at all?
Nothing. I think she was just trying to make a segue into insulting Brenda. I think that's the whole
Yeah, because she
point.
looks at Brenda at the end of it, and she's just like, "Whoa!" And then she says a line again,
bitch.
another word that we really can't use in the 2010s.
Yeah.
She looks at Brenda and she goes,
Especially when they have retards in their family.
but Brenda looks at her and goes, "God damn it!" and slams her fist on the desk and just gets up and knocks it over. And they get in a fight. And now here's the best part. Again, the teacher, just like those guys in the club, very slow to break this up.
It's like, girls, like no urgency.
Girls, the whole class just like gathers around while Brenda's fighting Cindy on the floor. And the teacher like comes over to stop it, but then like Wes puts his arm around them and they're like watching it together at some
I didn't
point.
get that.
So this fight ends amazing. Brenda just like grabs onto Cindy's shirt and rips it off and just exposes her. Which I haven't mentioned this yet, but no woman in this movie wears a bra.
No.
Every teenage girl in this movie apparently just goes braless to school. But she rips her shirt off. We see her boobs. She's embarrassed, and she goes running out of class, and everybody's like laughing hysterically about it.
Well, that's going to land Brenda in another hot seat.
Back to the principal's office.
Yeah.
So the principal says, "This is amazing. This is so fucking bad. This is just the ultimate, like, the problem with rape in any society type thing." Is he says to her, he goes,
"I'm sorry about your sister, Brenda. The police are doing everything they can. But she shouldn't have been there in the first place."
"I'm sorry about your sister, but she shouldn't have been there in the first place."
No.
Where? The gym? The school gym? Because that's where she got
The school
raped.
you fucking oversee?
Yeah, I think it's...
Wow.
Both of these people are to blame, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
The reason that Heather got raped is because Brenda was fighting with Cindy in the shower, which we didn't even talk about much, but they do have a wet t-shirt fight in the shower while her sister's getting raped. Could have been there, huh?
Yeah.
The principal apparently doesn't give a shit about security or these guys mucking around his school or raping girls, and he apparently doesn't even call the police about it. We all know who did it.
No.
But he does nothing.
No rape
Think
kit
about
was
it.
cracked open, no investigation,
But
no
no-
DNA sample, nothing.
You know whose fault this is? Heather's. Because she was in the gym, and she shouldn't have been there in the first place because the gym is nowhere for a deaf person.
That feels like this is like the synopsis on the poster you just read aloud.
What I think Brenda's response to him is so justified is she just looks at him and she goes,
Fuck you.
but then he makes it even worse because he looks at her and he goes, "You're a tough little bitch, aren't you? I like that." But then he suspends her.
Yeah, no second chances.
And again, suspend. Does anybody do anything bad enough to get expelled at this school? I mean, it seems to me like this principal, even though he's a real badass, has got a little bit of a soft spot for these kids because he's letting them get away with murder, literally murder.
Yeah.
So then we see the girls hanging out around school. Francine, we finally found out her name. I don't know if we did before, but that's 2 days from retirement girl is named Francine.
Yep.
First time I noticed her name. So they're going to go pick up her dress for the wedding. What could go wrong?
Well, the dress, first off. It is a terrible...
Well, before we even get to that, Brenda says, "Nothing is going to ruin your big day."
There it is, making sure she's killed in some way. Lay it on thick.
This is just the ultimate, like I'm saying, I'm 2 days away from retirement.
It is.
I'm going to get that boat I always wanted. Francine, yeah, she tries on the dress. Chris doesn't like the dress.
No, it's very typical in 1984, but that's what I love about it.
And I guess
so.
the Mexican girl, her mom, or Maria, that we finally found out her name in the class at one point. I guess Maria's mom owns the dress shop or something.
I thought it was Francine, though. Oh, Maria.
Well, Maria's there with her. and
Okay,
then
see,
this scene.
okay, I get
it.
Okay.
Nothing to worry about though. She's all smiles. Everything's good. Francine just skips on out onto Hollywood Boulevard, holding her dress in her hand and just going la 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 la, like walking down the street.
As she doesn't notice this vehicle creeping alongside her.
Yeah. So,
honestly, if you were in like the streets that were so desolate at that time, and would you not notice that? At the corner of your eye?
No. This car is directly behind her and like creeping around her. And there's a part where she walks down an alley and we see like this profile shot. Like we see her walk from right to left in the screen. Yeah. And then immediately when she walks through, you see the car drive right to left. So it's about 2 feet behind her. And somehow she does not know until like... She's crossing a street and they rev the engine. She's like, oh, God. But I swear, she went from like Hollywood Boulevard to like San Pedro. Like she walked like all of L.A.
Which means the car was following her the whole time.
They're just waiting for the right time to strike, I guess.
Look, an overpass.
I swear to God, it goes from Hollywood Boulevard into like... loading docks and all sorts of things. Like, it makes no sense. She must have been. And by the way, where is she walking?
Yeah,
there's nothing down there for you.
And if she knew this was this far to get a dress, wouldn't she have gotten a ride or a cab?
How'd Maria even get there?
Yeah,
she left her there.
Yeah,
she couldn't have taken her with her. They chase her up for some reason. They chase her up onto a bridge.
Well, it's her choice to run up that bridge. Yeah, she runs everywhere that you shouldn't when you're being chased.
She's like, oh, I shouldn't run into public. I should run into a dark stairwell.
I'm going to go towards the sewage drain. I'll lose him in there.
So, yeah, she runs up all sorts of dark stairwells. And she doesn't decide to run through the street screaming help. She runs up a dark stairwell. She goes on the top of a bridge, which I might add, other cars are driving on.
Yeah.
Which makes this next part really weird is, they corner her.
Yeah.
And then Jake picks her up and she spits at him. He lifts her over his head, and at this point Vinny's like screaming. He's like,
No, Jake! Jake! God damn it, do it! No! Jake, please!
He's going nuts. And then,
well, Jake he pretty much lifts her up like a fucking, a weight system, holds her over his head and just launches her over this bridge, and she goes flying.
Throws her off the bridge.
Yeah, and then my favorite line.
Oh God, I knew you were gonna say this.
They take the dress.
The beefcake guy.
Beefcake takes dress and goes, "Here comes the bride, all drenched in red." And then they just kind of throw it on her.
But he kisses the dress before he says that.
Yeah.
He like kisses it tenderly. Yeah.
Here comes the bride. She's all drenched in red.
And mind you, this is in a public space, public bridge, full view of everybody.
With other cars driving.
Yeah.
And nobody like even honks or anything. Like, hey, don't throw that girl over the bridge.
Do you need help with that?
In this world, nobody gives a fuck. So Vince like goes. I love this part though. Vince goes crazy.
I hate you! I hate you!
He goes crazy and then he runs away. And then Jake goes. He runs a little bit towards him and he goes,
You fuck! You're mine! You hear me? You're mine!
Yeah.
And then they get in the car and drive the other way. Like, Vinny's running one direction and he's running on a bridge and there's nowhere for him to run.
Yeah.
And they go, I'll get you. They get in the car and they drive the opposite direction.
So naturally, the guy that just watched you commit a murder, who is now totally against you and gonna rat you out.
Yeah, let him think about it for a while.
Yeah,
maybe
let
he's
him
just
cool off a bit.
Let him cool. So then we cut to this club that these girls are at. Everybody's wondering where Francine is. They start cracking jokes about, well, you better not piss her off. She'll cut you like she cut Jake. And
I mean, if they were such good friends, wouldn't they have gone with her with that dress?
Who knows?
Yeah, fuck it.
So this scene doesn't make any sense other than, boy, they're going to get a surprise in a few minutes.
Yeah.
So then Brenda says she's got to go to the hospital. But Vince is at the hospital, and he like goes into Heather's room and he starts apologizing.
And this is where I have a problem.
So this is
okay. First, hospital security. You can just wander in aimlessly into any room you want.
A real sweaty guy, by the way. He's
Yeah.
like drenched in sweat, and he's like, it's like in a panic. Yeah, let's just like let him go visit this girl who's almost dead.
Who's been raped brutally. Let him do his thing.
In hospitals,
He
you
must
just
be a
walk in,
minister.
some
He's-
guy's in a complete huff. He's all in a heap, this guy. So he goes in, and this is another thing. He starts apologizing to a deaf girl.
Yeah, because he knows she's deaf.
He knows she's deaf.
Yeah.
Her eyes are closed, and everything's like bandaged up.
Yeah.
Like her whole face is bandaged up, basically. And he's like saying, I'm sorry. And I almost feel like he's like, why aren't you listening to me?
Can't you hear me? I'm bearing my soul here.
She's deaf, man. So Brenda catches him and just starts slap fighting him.
I know. Like,
God damn it! Avenge you, motherfucker! And she's just slapping him. He runs away. Brenda goes home. Oh, God. Okay, let me ask you a question.
yeah.
We are pretty high intensity at this point in time. You know what this movie needs right now? An hour in.
Yeah.
Something to cut that tension. Brenda's going to go home. And to this music, which is the music from the trailer, I believe.
Yeah. Which it seems to be on a loop for the next 10 minutes, actually.
Just for love.
Yeah.
This music's playing. We see a full shot of her parking her car and then walking inside. That takes like a whole minute. And then we immediately cut to Linda Blair sitting naked in a tub, topless, looking pissed. And she just holds this look almost like it's a still photograph. She's really pissed, naked in the tub, and we zoom into her face over the next like 2 minutes.
Because there's no time to waste.
No, and the song just keeps going. Just for love. It's just I was so shocked when they got to this because, first of all, didn't really anticipate seeing her naked. 2, didn't expect it here. Not at all. Right before it's gonna get violent, we gotta like, oh shit, we forgot to put that topless scene in. Linda, you're gonna have to sit in this tub.
If she's so on her mind at that point, she's out for justice. She's out for vengeance, right?
Oh, for sure.
Why does she have to take a bath?
Because it's in her contract that she's got to get naked.
Oh, well, okay.
So I swear they had to fit it in somewhere. The Chatterbox guy had so many ideas, and they just left him to the wayside when this new director came in.
Oh.
So then she gets ready to go on the attack. She dresses in all leather, and what I thought was funny is heels, like super high heels. It's like, not the best murdering gear. Her mom gets some phone call. Apparently it's Maria telling her about Francine dying. She goes upstairs to tell Brenda, but Brenda's gone. And she just goes, Brenda! And we see Brenda going to Vince's house. She knocks on the door.
Vince is packing.
Okay, and I
He's
just
gonna
want to
skip
say,
town.
at this point, Brenda's hair has gotten a little bit bigger than it was before.
Well, this is revenge hair. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's gotten bigger. I love the way she like gets into his room. She just knocks on his door and the dad answers. She's like, "Is Vince here?" And he's like, "Oh, he can't go out on a school night." She goes, "Oh, well, we got this school project, and I really just like to see him for a second." So she
Never
goes
mind calling Vince down to the door.
Yeah,
Vince.
no. Yeah, go into his room. So she goes into his room, but we see this shot of Vince packing and then immediately pan over and see a switchblade switch out, and it's Brenda, real fucking pissed. And he goes, "For God's sakes, it wasn't my fault, Brenda." And she goes, "You're gonna die, Vince." So she's like, I swear to God, I thought she was gonna slit his throat right in the middle of his dad's house.
It should have happened. Should have happened. Castrate him at least.
So then we don't know really what happens to Vince, because the next shot we see is Brenda like loading up where they were hanging out in the beginning of the movie.
Yep.
She's got a bag full of stuff. She's putting it in the back of this trunk. So she like goes over to their warehouse. Jake says something to the other guys about how they can't watch him do something, and they're real bummed about it.
Yeah,
the blonde guy's all depressed about it. He really wanted to watch
that bride take fine lessons into the cement.
Oh yeah, okay. So I can't even believe these two guys can function without Jake. To be honest, like I thought, like when he would leave, they would just kind of sit around and go, like, "Well, what do we do now?" When the blonde guy starts complaining about Jake, and the beefcake guy says stuff like, "Jake's not so bad. Didn't he give you sloppy seconds with that deaf girl?" and then he let your one broad take flying lessons. And did you write this? The next part that he says?
No.
He goes, "You know, it was really great." What he's okay. I'm sorry. Hold on. He puts his arm around him and he goes, in like a tender way. He goes, "You know, it was really great watching her bounce off the concrete."
You know something, Reg? It was very, very neat the way she bounced when she hit that concrete. Bam!
Oh yeah. What a tender man.
But I was like, that's a great memory they're gonna have for the rest of their lives. Goes, remember when that body bounced off the concrete?
And that dress came flittering down on top of her, and I said that one-liner.
That was a good day. Brenda confronts these two guys who somehow are existing without Jake, and she's like, has a bunch like an arrow quiver on her leg, and like she's banging a metal pipe around. And for some reason, the beefcake guy thinks that she's coming on to him.
Yeah.
And
oh, girl with the pipe, she must want it.
Yeah. And then the other guy holds him back and he goes, "Doesn't this look a little suspicious?" And then
the one voice of reason, and it's that guy.
Yeah. So then she unzips part of her top and she goes, "What's the matter, boys? You get a little girl all hot and horny and then lose your nerve?" And then the dumb guy, I love this part, is the beefcake guy goes, "I'm gonna fuck that bitch." And then the blonde guy goes, "Yeah."
You get a little girl all hot and horny, then lose your nerve? What a shame.
I'm gonna fuck that bitch.
Yeah.
He just says it in this way. He goes, "Yeah." So then these two dummies try to find her in this cloth warehouse, I guess this fabric warehouse. The dumb guy says, I bet you wrote this down, Chris. Go ahead.
We're gonna hide the salami so far up there. Christopher Columbus isn't gonna find it. All right. So first off, Christopher Columbus got lost.
Yeah. Wait.
So if you want anything found, he's actually your man.
Yeah. The dumb guy goes,
"We're gonna play a little game, baby."
I just love fun and games.
The game we got in mind is called Hide the Salami. You like Hide the Salami, don't you, Brenda? All you fucking cunts like Hide the Salami.
That's not right, asshole.
Hide the salami. I'm gonna hide that fucking salami so far up you. Goddamn Christopher Columbus couldn't find it.
and then he keeps mumbling to himself like that line. He keeps mumbling himself over and over. He goes, yeah, I'm gonna hide that salami good. I'm gonna hide that salami.
So far up, Christopher Columbus can't even find it.
I like how you said he did get lost.
Christopher Columbus got lost.
Yeah.
And he is your man.
The man who thought he was going to India. Wrong turn, buddy.
Must have made a wrong turn in Albuquerque.
So then Brenda finds him, shoots that dummy in the throat with a crossbow.
Who saw that one coming?
Well, she did have all those arrows.
And she did master it in quite a little bit of time.
Yeah.
The second she took the tag off of it, and then she just magically knew how to fire it dead center. But hey, Savage Streets.
Well, you gotta learn this stuff if you expect to survive on these streets, Chris.
Well, first off, before he takes the arrow in the throat, you start walking, and on the ground in plain sight are all these bear traps.
Yeah. So all those bear traps on sale, she just put on the ground like strategically, but not strategic at all because they're just sitting out in plain view.
It's like, whoa, glad I didn't step on that.
Yeah, he looks down and goes, "What a dummy! She's got this place booby trapped like it's Home Alone."
Yes,
because she also has like some sort of like PA system she's rigged around this
it's not a
warehouse.
PA. It is a tape recorder. It is just a tape player of herself, like moaning and like making like screaming noises to be found.
Like, where you gonna find me? Where you gonna find me?
You're like,
But the weird thing is, it goes with what they're saying.
Yeah.
Because like he goes, "You want to play a little game?" And she's like, "I love playing games."
like, how did she know? And second, where and when did she find the time to make this tape? And the time she was taking a bath. Like, was this...
Well, we know, Brenda, I hope you weren't using that tape recorder next to the tub. Because...
logically, she would.
So then the punk guy is looking for him, and he keeps walking around. He goes, "Where are you, Fargo?" Which I guess is the beefcake guy's name, which we never knew. But then he keeps going, "Where's the pussy? Where's the pussy?"
You must have got it by now.
Where's the pussy?
Where are you? Where's the pussy, huh? Hey, Fargo, what you doing, man? Where's the pussy, huh?
Where's the pussy? Where's the pussy? And then she walks up, and this one-liner makes no sense. As Brenda walks up and sees him, and she goes, "Now it's your turn with the pussy." And she kills him. Then she lights a cigarette.
Well, the way he dies, those bear traps finally got some use.
Oh, yeah.
he just gets scared, like, and just kind of falls backwards onto the bear traps.
I feel like the director was like adamant, like, we got to use these bear traps for something. We paid for them, we got to use them.
Yeah. Much like the bearskin rug in Cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Or whatever movie
that
that was.
Producer's note. I got these bear traps in my home. They're going to no good use. I want them in the movie.
Yeah, my wife wouldn't want to keep them around, and there you go.
So then we immediately cut to Vince, like, apparently walking out of some sort of alleyway.
Yeah, like where?
And he's like, "I'll call you when I get there." And he's like dressed in some starter jacket. Like, he's gonna leave town. I love this part, though, is that we found out where Jake's going. Mm-hmm. He walks out of this alley, and Jake's car is immediately behind him. So apparently this car is invisible until it's turned on in the engine revs.
It's a ghost car.
Like, he's like not even 5 feet from the stairwell.
No.
He turns on the car, and Vince just stands in the middle of this alleyway, which is big enough to either run one direction, run to the side, but he just stands there and goes, "No, Jake, no!" And it's like a good 30 seconds of him going, "No!" while Jake just drives, and he doesn't move or anything. He just goes, "No!" So Jake runs him over, and he's dead.
Yeah.
Could have moved. So then Jake goes back to the warehouse. He rolls up the door. Brenda has the 2 dead guys strewn up for his enjoyment.
Yeah.
Which I would have loved to have seen the scene of Brenda, like, tying them up. Been like, "I'm going to place this guy here and here. Oh, maybe I'll put him over here. Actually, meh."
Or like just yell, like saying one-liners. I'm like, you like your pussy stacked, don't you?
And then she, like, apparently mutilated the corpses a little bit. Because they're all, like, damaged more than they were before.
Yeah.
Which to me is a little disturbing.
Ooh, overkill.
He comes up and he's like, "Oh shit." He gets shot in the leg with an arrow. Then he gets shot in the other leg with an arrow.
She has such great aim.
I know. Except she walks out and, okay, this is what I'm going to say. Every shot from here on out, her hair gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, at first it was big when she was killing or going to confront Vince. Then it was bigger when she was confronting these guys at the warehouse. Now it's like every time she kills or like gets revenge, her hair grows in size. And this part when she walks up with the crossbow, her hair is so big that I swear to you that Linda Blair's face is the bottom third of the screen and her hair is the top 2/3. And I swear that the hair keeps going above the screen.
They had to get a crane for the next one.
It is so big.
Well, first off, so the guy gets shot in both knees. He takes out his gun and starts firing wildly into the dark. and he wastes his last 2 shots. And he yells, "Brenda, I didn't get you, did I?"
Brenda! I didn't get you, did I?
Well, no shit. It just wastes his shots at nothing.
I didn't get you tonight.
It's word for word.
She comes out, and this is where it's really dumb.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like, God damn it. It's just like Chatterbox. They needed another 15 minutes to add to this movie because like it should have fucking ended, but it just goes on and on from here. So she walks out with the crossbow and like misses him on purpose. The only time she misses.
And it's her last arrow.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. She just goes like, whoops, I missed you. Oh, I guess I'm out of arrows. Well, I'll go to the car. I got more in there. And it's just like, okay. So we see a shot of her walking over to the car and she like closes this gate up and ties a rope and all this stuff.
Well, I like that she used a twisty tie to lock the gate.
Yeah. So then she gets in her car and like starts it, and Jake like runs after her and he's trying to open the gate, and then she drives away and she's got like the old cartoon gag rope thing where she like hog ties him like he's some sort of wild animal.
Yeah, we got it from the Acme store earlier today.
Yeah, the Acme store that sells bear traps, crossbows,
and anything else,
rope traps. Like there really needed to be a net at one point where somebody gets trapped in a net, like a big TNT box.
Yeah.
So she like hog ties him up, and then she like walks up to him with a knife, and she's all, "What do you think a pig feels like before it gets cut? What do you think it thinks when it's getting its throat slit?" It's like, I don't think much, Brenda.
Kind of like how my sister felt.
Then he like somehow like hits her with the fence gate.
Yeah, and somehow he's manages to climb back up, but Brenda just lies there making orgasm sounds.
Oh God! So she barely gets hit, but it looks like she's been just knocked out cold.
And
she's
there's
like
blood everywhere.
They're just like sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
So he like gets on top of her and he goes, "I'm gonna rip your heart out and eat it." And she stabs him right in the dick with the switchblade. So he like crawls over to this fence, knife sticking out of the penis. He pulls it out, and then she's like trying to drive away, but she just screams and runs or something.
Yeah. Like,
and
you have a car. What the fuck are you doing?
I don't know, but we get the longest chase scene inside this paint store. A paint store.
Yeah.
So he comes in. He's pretty much dead. She somehow finds flammable paint. She throws it on him.
Well, she's kneeling down with it, waiting.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of, instead of like, he could silently take her out. He goes, "Hey, Brenda!" Right behind her.
Yeah, you can see, all you see is big hair. Like you see a shot of like hair and feet. And he goes, "Hey, Brenda!" And she just turns around and goes, "Ah!" and throws flammable paint on him.
Which I think was just like, wasn't her intention at first. Was like, maybe that was her gut instinct when spinning around naturally.
Well, yeah, because then he starts choking her.
Yeah.
She lights him on fire. He dives through a window on fire, starts rolling around the street. Now here's where why do they even have this part? You hear a cop siren, and you see a cop pull up. The cop gets out of the car and like says something like, "We're going to need some backup." But you never see a shot of the cop and Brenda.
No. Brenda's just kind of staring out the window.
And nothing happens.
Nope.
Nobody's arrested. Nothing. Now, the movie ends them just at Francine's grave, blah, 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 blah. They put flowers on it. Who gives a shit? Heather's fine. We pan out, justice for love.
Yeah.
And okay. But my question about this is, Brenda has murdered 3 men in cold blood tonight. There's really no excuse for self-defense, anything like this. She has set up a house of horrors for them, and they have stumbled upon it. And the cops, I guess, have just let her go?
Yeah.
The cops in this town...
Well, I don't think they just ever found her. I think there's just...
Oh, they didn't see the girl standing in front of the broken paint shop window, staring out at the burning man, and think, maybe she had something to do with it.
No, I think all they saw was hair. Behind a shelf.
You see in the police description, he's just like, "I saw hair run away."
Very flammable hair.
All right, Chris,
and
so
stilettos.
Savage Streets, your level of recommendation for this
I recommend it. Yeah, it's good to see it just off the wall, no common sense within 2 feet of your face at
this
all.
movie's great.
Yeah.
It's really fun. Like, the first watch was better, I think.
Yeah. Second one was a little bit more because you're frustrated with these characters.
Yeah, you know what's going to
happen.
happen, but the first time you watch this movie, it's fucking great. Like, it's...
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, I'm in for a treat.
Badass.
Yeah.
Like, Linda Blair is great in this movie. She's so miscast, but she's so great. Like, I would never picture her as a badass.
No.
I thought this was more like they tried to turn her into some sort of Sigourney Weaver, you know? But she's nowhere close to that.
No, she lacks.
It doesn't help that Linda Blair is like 5 feet tall. Like, everybody is taller than her in this movie.
No, they got every apple box in town and stood her on top of it.
She looks so tiny compared to everybody else in the movie.
Yeah, there's just something. It's kind of like when Keanu Reeves was cast as John Constantine. It's kind of like he was compared to like watching a poodle with a pit bull collar. I felt kind of the same way with this.
Yeah,
she just didn't come off threatening to me. It was just her acting.
You know how like Vinny's in over his head with that gang?
Yeah.
It was like Linda Blair was in over in over her head with this movie.
Yeah. I think Sheree Curry would have been better.
Very miscast.
Yeah.
But great as a result.
Oh yeah.
Also,
it's totally
the content in this movie is insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rough, like very violent, cold. I mean, it's a true grindhouse movie in that sense. And I know this movie actually came out in the theaters, and we're really straying away here in episode 5, 6, whatever the hell this is.
5, yeah.
We've now covered 2 movies in a row that were actually released in the theater. But this movie is like too good to pass up, I think.
And it segues perfectly from the last film because of the people involved.
Yeah.
So this
is a true grindhouse type movie. I mean, it's definitely a recommend. It's fun. It's extremely hard to get on DVD.
Yeah.
But somebody kindly uploaded the whole movie for free onto YouTube.
Yeah,
so.
Thank God for that. But the sound was misaligned.
So the sound is a good 10 frames off.
Yeah.
So if you can put up with it, go for it. If not, the DVD is like $30.
Ugh.
And you cannot find this on streaming anywhere. This is the movie that time forgot, apparently. All right, Chris, so sequel to Savage Streets.
Savage Streets 2, We Barely Knew You.
What would the content be?
Well, now she's on the run.
So the cops have caught up there.
The cops have caught on. She's actually been going around killing other insurgent scars that want to live on in the memory of Jake and all these other guys. They're trying to pick up the mantle. And now
she's cleaning the streets.
She's cleaning the streets, and it's widely known that she's responsible for the past murders. So it's her kind of take up the mantle, and she's become kind of a superhero in a way. But Heather, the sister, also wants to take on that role too. So it's her trying to keep Heather from joining the ranks of the superhero. And so now they're both kind of cleaning up the streets together. And so she is kind of like an alter ego. But being that she's deaf, she's kind of like her eyes but not ears of the streets. So she like dresses her up as like different like a homeless person and sends her out on the road.
Yeah, she's like the deaf version of Daredevil or something.
Yeah, exactly. So she's a deaf Daredevil there. So that's basically it.
And we just get that song, Justice for Love.
Yeah.
I like We Barely Knew You.
Yeah.
But do you hear that sound?
Oh.
I hear the dulcet tones of Sammy Johns ringing through the air. Oh my God, and who's that? Oh, it's the Straight Arrow.
Oh, I hear the horn.
Oh my God, and DeVito and Bobby have just pulled up into the world of Savage Streets. How would the van relate to this movie? Chris.
Okay, it would be a very, very quick cameo. Basically, after Francina's thrown off the bridge, now we see the top of the bridge. Now, from under the bridge, the Straight Arrow would creep up, and you would see this red head from the top drag the body into the van and then drive off, and that's it. That's all you see.
You just see DeVito be like, "Come on, Bobby, grab it. I'll get the legs. You get the hands."
And then they stop. You forgot the dress, and they have to peel back and get the dress. It's not a complete set without the dress.
These boys, what scam are they running this week? I've been racking my brain for like 3 days trying to figure out how
tough.
DeVito and Bobby would fit into this movie.
You can't overthink it. You can't think of something too big for them because sometimes the smaller the better.
I thought of a great thing though. Instead of having Wes in this movie, that should have been Bobby. So like Bobby's always creeping on Brenda.
Yeah.
And he's just like, hey, like sitting in the back of that calisthenics class, you know. He's real into her.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see multiple parts where Wes is a little reserved, but I'd like to see Bobby be like, come here, Linda, I like your hair. And like going for the goods. Maybe she's in that tub. He goes, room for one more.
Don't make me do it. And he threatens to drop the tape recorder into the bathtub.
If you don't listen to me, we're both gonna die.
Friday night. Don't make me drop it. What do you say?
So yeah, that's a stretch to somehow fit the band
What
into this
if that tape recording is something that Bobby made of him and Brenda?
Holy shit, Chris, I just got... Do you think that's an 8-track player?
Okay, we got it. Why did we not see this?
2 movies where an audio tape of people having sex is played and we didn't put it together. That is the tape from the Straight Arrow that Linda seems to have.
How it ended up in 7 Streets. I almost don't want to know it. Like I like the mystique of this tape, kind of like traveling, like the sisterhood of the traveling 8-track. It finds itself in situations that cannot be explained.
I really hope this tape makes another appearance. Holy shit.
Wow.
So put it in the bin, close it up.
Yeah.
Close the book on this one. Savage Streets.
Justice for love.
Injustice for love. I hope the music at this point's playing us out. Chris, sing along to it.
Justice for all, and you're to live.
Bye.